The Corridor is about 5 guys who are sort of in the throes of their midlife crisis. One of them in particular has suffered something of a mental breakdown. His friends rally around him as he's released from a healthcare facility, and they go to kind of heal the wounds that they kind of that they share collectively or that they have individually, but they go to heal those wounds in a small cabin in the woods in wintertime in rural Nova Scotia. And then the guy who has suffered something of a mental health breakdown begins to believe that he is maybe seeing sort of a enigmatic energy force in the middle of the woods, but he's fearful of telling his friends because he doesn't want to be sort of the boy who cried wolf. But then as the movie goes along, maybe something happens to turn the boy's friends into the wolves. And our tagline for the movie is that the corridor brought them all together and it tore them all apart. I think it's something of a psychological, character-based horror piece. It's kind of quiet. It's kind of a movie that gains a lot of steam as it goes along. We start in a very naturalistic kind of world, and then we just gain and gain and gain, hopefully, as we go along.
I think Josh has often called it the ultimate male unbonding film.
Oh, good call.
We work in a pretty small and tight and talented community in Halifax, and the origin technically of the film was that it was a script idea of Josh's, or a project that he already had underway, and he met a producer named Mike Masters, who sadly wasn't able to join us at Fantasia this year. And Mike and I work frequently together in the modest kind of Halifax or Nova Scotia commercial production kind of market area. So it was Mike and Josh's initial project, and after a stage or two of development, Josh had finished the script, eventually reached a point of process where they involved me, and it was probably a risk on their behalf because I don't have the background that Josh does or Mike does, but I do think that I have the sort of sympathies to all those male dynamics and all those character things, so that there's something new added to the table. So the three of us, along with a second producer, Craig Cameron, it really became kind of a group of 4 that kind of pushed it forward from there, and really have been kind of dragging it along ever since.
And all of us are fairly, we're still kind of finding our way. I guess everybody is, but I literally have only got one other feature film under my belt. Mike Masters has produced a handful of sort of low-budget projects. Craig Cameron works a lot as a PM back in Nova Scotia, and Evan's done a ton of. Oh, that's right. And Evan's done a ton of commercial work, like a ton. But this is his directorial debut as in a feature form, so it is exciting. It was a good opportunity for all of us at the right place at the right time.
I've got an appetite for good movies, and good movies of all sorts. Josh would have an appetite for good movies of all sorts, but also any horror film of any sort. And there were certainly things in the script that welcomed me into it right away. I love the setting. I mean, wintertime in Canada, there simply aren't enough movies being made in that incredible natural setting. Of course, we've learned why now. I mean, that was the hubris of inexperience. It's hard, but also in the script itself, I could completely identify with a close group of male friends. I certainly have a close group of male friends, and many people who've seen it, read the script or seen the film, can see a reflection of their own friends and friends' dynamic in that. So that was something that was an easy point of access. And then there are a couple of things in the script itself that really spoke to me. There's a prolonged sequence where a key piece of activity happens cleverly off screen, where I just engaged with that. That was an exciting opportunity, even just to read on the page and then to kind of imagine how it could play out. And then secondarily, the corridor itself. It is a abstract, geometric space just set out in the sort of undulating kind of organic wilds of nature, and that kind of image right off the page was something that it was exciting right from the get-go. It's tough to talk influences whenever you mention film names or anything like that. It
Was
seems
a
like
million.
it seems like bold comparison, and of course, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
it's-
we humbly, you know, kind of say that these are the things that inspired us. But
Yeah, we come
but
at
by
it-
no
come
means
at
do
it
we
as-
do we end up comparing the end project with them.
We come
However,
at it as fans.
absolutely, and for me, there was in terms of influences, this because of the character dynamic, I was sort of sourcing a whole raft of films that are completely out of the horror idiom. They're kind of sort of like small little sort of new American realist independent films. Our end result and those films wouldn't make for kind of logical comparison now, but that's, you know, kind of where I started, and then was benefiting from a slow education in some of the kind of cracks and crevices of the horror genre from Josh and Mike, who would be like, before we get started, you should also see this and see this and see this. So there were things that are probably, you know, kind of
Canonical
appalling
titles.
gaps in my in my film viewing that they had to patch over, so that I could kind of maybe, you know, start to blend to help us get from the character stuff that I had a natural sympathy for to where the character stuff builds towards, and how to, you know, kind of
Begins to off gas in its
Yeah.
nightmarish way.
Yeah, so I mean, lots of influences, but it ends up being its own thing.